Oh, welcome everybody to a very special session of the Monday Mindset Moment. We're here live with Sarah Kowalski, and we're having an opportunity to hear some real stories from real parents. We're together here in Denver, Colorado, and we're exploring what it's like to be on a journey with not only with children, but also with mentorship and coaching, like somebody in your court who's got your back, who's helping move things forward in your life. And what a pleasure it is to be in person with Sarah. We live in different states. I'm in California.
I'm in Denver.
Yeah, and we thought, what a fun opportunity for us to get together and actually do this, collaboratively. So one thing that you need to know about Sarah is that she is first of all, an incredible person, incredibly generous with her intellect, her insights, with her time, with her energy, with her community. And one thing that's always stood out to me about Sarah is her amazing, deeply held belief and commitment to supporting single moms by choice. I know, having been through the journey yourself, there's so much that you have to offer people. And so she's a published author, and you can tell them a little bit about your
Sure.
real quick.
Sure. Well, I have a book, Motherhood Reimagined, when becoming a mother doesn't go as planned, which I feel like could be an ongoing title of life. And I also run a community support groups and lots of interviews of my own for single moms by choice. And it's just a community that I feel very passionate about helping. It feels really, really important to me. So it's fun.
Yes. And so we're going to do a little time traveling, and then we're going to also come to the present and then also go forward.
Sure.
And take us back to the moment when you knew that you needed to bring in some reinforcements, Sarah. And as people are listening to this, I want you to hear yourself in this story, because we've all been there. This is not special to one mom, right? Yeah, but I know in the moment you're like no one else. But listen to the parts that maybe you can relate to, like your moment of just that inflection point. You're like, this is harder than I should be.
Yeah. So it was in the middle of the pandemic. We had just experienced my mom dying and lots of moving around. My mom died of cancer in the middle of the pandemic, and we were there kind of witnessing it. And then we went to the beach in Mexico. We had been living in Mexico. I went there, and I thought it was gonna be like the solution to everything, because we could be outside of the beach if nothing else. And my son started like physically attacking me, and it was horrible. And I was like hiding in the bathroom, trying to get away. I was, a friend was there, and she was like, I don't even know how to help you. Like, I don't know what to do. She would take him for me at times. I remember I was sitting at a cafe, and there was like a couch. There was like a nice big window, and he could sit on the inside and I could sit on the outside. And I was sitting down, like trying to catch my breath, because he was just coming up to me and saying the meanest things. And he literally just walked up behind me and like hit me on the head.
How old was he at this time?
I believe he must have been 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did not know what to do. I was just like, I have no clue. And I think just all of the worst thoughts going through my head. And luckily I was there at the beach with another client of yours that you had worked with.
That's right. Yeah.
And she recommended I speak to you. And I actually interviewed like 3 parenting companies.
I remember. She was very transparent. I've shopped around and I want to hear exactly what you can do for me. Yes. Conscientious consumer. I love it. Yeah.
Yes. But I remember like within the first half hour, you gave me some stuff to try that was like it basically changed within a week. And I felt like the other people that I spoke with, it was like just fluff and basically no information at all. So it's part of the reason I really value your work.
You wanted like practical hands-on solutions that you could use right away.
Right.
And I think especially in those kind of like I said, that inflection point of like you're starting to run out of ideas, you tried everything you know. That's what you need. Right? You don't need sort of like, oh, here's a general method or general philosophy,
right,
which is helpful.
Right.
to frame things, but let's like spend 10 seconds on that, 10 minutes maybe,
Right.
and the rest of the time getting you like, okay, let's make a game plan.
Right.
Because often in that state, you're not looking at the big picture, the meta.
Right.
You want to have things that you can try.
I needed to stop that behavior immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, and can I be part of the solution? I think part of what you were exasperated about was that the efforts you were making seemed to be making things worse, not better.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, like you just keep having this pattern, it's not improving.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt completely stuck.
So given that, can you recall so by the way, Sarah has been on quite a journey. We've been working together for years. And where you are now is so impressive. Like I just had a chance to actually hang out with your little one.
Wow, that was cool.
Yeah, and it was so sweet. I pointed out that a man let me ahead of him in the grocery store. Oh, because he had a lot of things. He just noticed I had 3 things, had a child with me. So why don't you go, ahead of me? I said, Amy, did you notice what just happened? Someone was so kind and like paying attention. What do you think of that? I was like, yeah, that was really nice. And he goes, so then I checked out and he goes, can I carry those for you? Look how far your little now big one has come.
Yeah.
Like so from boy whacking you on the back of the head to offering to carry, groceries out the door.
Yeah.
Such a journey. So for the benefit of those who are listening, I'd love to glean some of your insights from the past few years, things that stood out that got you out of that unstuck place. Now, if you remember specifically what you did back in the day, please share those, and then maybe we can even layer on that.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So the first thing I remember is that I can't remember if I had been sort of like locking myself away when he was hitting me, but you were like, get to a safe place, the behavior stops right away.
Yeah.
And then everything becomes his choice. So I will come out of the bathroom when you choose to stop doing X, Y, Z. If you continue to choose to do this, then I'm going to stay here. But if you'd like to continue, then I'm going to be in here. And it was a miracle. So like basically de-escalating it because I wasn't in the room with him and there was no like more kind of like, I think before I was trying to like problem solve in the moment, and then the autonomy piece, which has really been
like kind of the secret sauce with this particular child, with your particular sweetheart. I can't emphasize this enough that it's so important to find what is the specific need that or goal that this behavior is communicating. Like what is he showing you that he wants? So he wanted attention, but he also wanted kind of a bit of revenge. He's angry, wants you to be hurt too. But the power. And what is the solution to power? Giving them positive power through autonomy. Right. Just the choice piece can be so powerful. Yeah. And so for those of you listening, I might think about the most recent power struggle that you've had with your child and get curious about how could I give my child a little more autonomy that's still within bounds? Because what Sarah didn't do, I just want to point out, Sarah didn't say, would you like to stop hitting me? And then he can choose to keep hitting her. That's not the kind of choice that we can get behind. Right. But saying, let me know, you let me know when you're ready and you've finished with this hitting, right? Maybe he's found a way to calm down. Maybe he's, realizing that he's not gonna have access to you, right? If he continues to hit you. Right. What a great life lesson.
Yeah. I remember what he did during that time. He took all the chairs in the house and he made like an obstacle course and moved all the cushions. And I think he thought it was going to piss me off. I was like, that was a great solution, buddy. Good job.
Yeah. And what we know about like nervous systems and things, sometimes when it's called like this idea of move it or lose it, or like we call it heavy work. I have an occupational therapist I've been tapping on the shoulder recently, and she was sharing with us that sometimes one of the more regulating things is for a child to do big work, heavy work. So those of you out there who might have a child who does tend to use their body very physically when they're upset and kind of aggravated, worked up, where hitting comes from, redirecting to what was the spontaneous activity for your child?
Mhm.
Moving furniture. I literally had kids move a pile of rocks from one end of the yard for no reason other than the activity itself, just to have heavy things to move.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so he naturally
He just did it.
figured
Yeah,
out.
and I
Yeah.
think he just immediately realized like it wasn't, I think that's another big lesson I've learned with him is like not reacting. And so he just wants to like, he just wants to engage me and he wants a reaction. So the more I can be like, okay, great. And inside I might be like, oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how hard is that? Yeah, right?
It's hard, but I've gone through phases. Like I recently went through a month where like my mantra to myself was don't react. And it was one of our best months. So I have to like recommit to not reacting.
Yeah.
And that can be really helpful. But yes, I think he realized he couldn't get what he wanted. And the choice piece, like it was a weird like Jedi mind trick. Essentially, like when you're ready, I'll come out.
This is not uncommon, Sarah. A lot of times what I'm finding is that as soon as you find the right tool for the right tool for the job, which by the way, if any listeners know the language that has a word for the right tool, the satisfaction of using the right tool for the job, I really want that in my life. So what I'm hearing though from folks time and time again, and what a great example of this is that when you really do tap into the tool that meets the need that the child is seeking, maybe not what they say they want. They say they want to hit you. What they really need is a boundary that's fair and safe and kind, and the opportunity to, in this case, have some power. Yeah, with choice. Yeah. And that's so it's not a one size fits all though, right? There are other scenarios that we've definitely coached through and rolled through. So I just kind of zoom out a little bit, sure, for folks, so they can benefit from your experience, not only as a mom, but also being in a community of other parents and with mentorship, working towards your family goals. So, what are some standout things that you've learned? So we've heard autonomy, giving choices. We've also heard not reacting. Do you have another gem for us? Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I mean, I think there's previewing is a big one.
Yes.
So even in the grocery store, we were about to pick out cookies. And I was like, okay, we're about to walk over to the cookies. I'm going to tell you now, you get one. And I don't want to argue about it when we get there. And he said, okay. And then he chose one. We actually ended up getting two, but it wasn't a battle. So like just sort of always that previewing. And another big one, I would say connect or correct. So sort of my kid really needs that connection. So the more, and I feel like I'm constantly like telling teachers, like my kid needs to connect with our
that's like a almost prerequisite to
my child doing anything for you has to have a relationship with you. Yeah.
And all kids are sensitive to that, but some kids are more sensitive to that, and they literally don't relate to what the information coming to them unless they feel connected to that person. It's almost like the person's doing that peanut wah 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 wah. And then all of a sudden, if you drop down into their world a bit and connect, you become an important enough character to have words coming out. Peanuts, right? Yeah.
So there's this, and then I think the other big one would be, he does tend to, when he is feeling hurt, he wants to like not let the person have access or say something really mean and I would say it's the piece that we still have not resolved. But I think myself having the understanding of it so that it doesn't make me feel like I have this terrible child has been really helpful.
It can be hard to see your child. You could feel motive in there from the hurt, and then they're lashing out in specific ways that they know will have an impact. And then you start to wonder, oh no, is my kid going to be this kind of aggressor, or right? And they're amongst their peers or life, right? You go, where's this going? Yeah. And what I've seen you do is like start to chip away at that, incrementally. And like Sarah just said, the awareness of where is this coming from? So I've heard a phrase a long time ago, hurt people hurt. So when you're hurt. And I've had to sit with this one because, when it's come up so many times. So, I have 15 years of classroom experience, 20 years of working with parents. And so not the first time that a child feels pain and tries to, help others around them understand their pain by lashing back or, just kind of getting revenge.
Right.
And one thing that stood out to me, and I know we've had this conversation before, Sarah, I want to just tell folks about is that put yourself in their shoes for a moment. Let's say you're going through some significant pain. And let's pick something relatable, like the loss of a family member. And you have this pain and you want to bring it to someone so that you can share it and not be alone with it. And you have a choice between someone that you feel you truly empathize and sympathize, and maybe that's their affect, that's your relationship. And you have somebody who has advice for you. Who do you go to first? Now, different answers for different folks, but I'll tell you that these kids that have this tendency to hurt when they're feeling hurt, they need that sympathetic person to feel their pain with them.
Right.
And then advice is welcome. It's almost like if I were the hurt person, Sarah, I need you to hurt like I'm hurting so that I can trust your perspective on what happens next. Because if we kind of go, oh, it's not a big deal, don't worry about it, whatever, and they're hurting, it's almost like we're fighting a feeling. That's my number one thing to avoid.
Right.
Yeah, don't pick a fight with a feeling. You'll always lose down or to stuff it in.
Right.
So
such a good one.
Yeah, such a good one.
I feel like I've heard it a bunch of times, but it's always a gem. Well, again, hearing it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if nothing else, it's an offering of a lens to look through so that we can feel more grounded and less reactive in a perspective that's helpful to us and them. Oftentimes, our first response is not the one.
Right.
Yeah. It's a very human thing to go, hey, what the heck? Are you really pouring my coffee out right now on the ground? Because you know how that makes me feel. And then you go, oh, you actually know exactly what you need right now. You need me to hurt with you. Right. So you went right for it, buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, my coffee, no.
We have coffee. So now that I know that she takes coffee. The one with all the cream in it, what? So now I would love to have an opportunity for folks to see what it's like to kind of get a little peek into some coaching.
Sure.
We've mostly been reflecting. So Sarah, set us up with just like, we're going to pretend for a moment that you're not here, though, or speak to you, listeners. What has been up for you? First of all, we like to build on strengths and wins. So share a win with us.
Sure.
We're going to pull some gems out of that as we do. And then help us understand what you would like some support with, and we'll allow some coaching.
Sure. So I would say a win as we went on this trip with his school. It was 3 nights, 4 days. Yeah. And even 6 months ago, we went on a trip. And by the end of it, he was like so dysregulated and like lashing out and being mean because he was feeling hurt. And I would say just in general, groups have not been his jam for a long time. Like, I feel like there's been a lot of social anxiety and a lot of just like not being able to navigate groups. And he was amazing on this trip and did so great.
I just felt so proud to watch that unfold.
Yeah.
Especially in contrast.
Yeah. And a couple of parents who were like, wow, your kid's so cool. What a great kid. And I was like, wow, okay.
So I guess I'd be like, I'm not going to tell you. It was hitting me on the back of the head.
And in general, I would say like he does not use physicality when he's angry at all. At all with me or anyone else. Yeah, I would say that's been for a while, but yes, he doesn't. So that's all great.
And then not even
verbally, I would say that's still our
Achilles heel. There's our edge.
So our edge is still there. And so he wasn't, there was times even on the trip where he was like, what I see happen is that if he feels rejected, Or someone sets a clear boundary, he takes it as like this personal like attack. And he will attack back verbally with like, you're an idiot or you're a jerk or why I don't want him around me or that kind of thing. So he did very little of that this trip, but it still happens, I would say. And I see it in lots of different situations.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a great learning edge, and developmentally, like at first just building off the wins. People noticing him being sweet and cool and all the things, compliments you got. So we know how he can shine. And I guess the question I have for you is, can you think, is there any pattern to what brings that out in him? Like opportunities to share knowledge or opportunities to do certain kinds of activities or like make a joke, tell us
You mean that brings out him the positive part?
Yeah.
Oh, when he can help?
Yeah, being helpful. Okay,
Being
good.
helpful. I think being like people, like him being in charge of the game, like him coming up with the idea and being the generator of the idea that people are then getting on board with.
You all need to know about Amy. No shortage on ideas. The idea guy.
He's an idea guy. Yeah, for sure. Being able to like tinker, work with things, create things, and
okay,
yeah, and being funny. I think he's hilarious. Trip, he's cracking everybody up.
clever guy. Like
He's a very clever
struck me
wit.
immediately.
Clever,
Even this
clever
morning.
wit.
Yeah, he's impersonating and
Yeah.
he's got many shticks. He can do it. Okay, so we're building off of that. And so if connect before correct is important for him, then part of what is often happening, my guess, is that he's still at an age, or the kind of a developmental age, where he is confusing a child not aligning with his preferences as incompatibility or even sort of putting them into the oppositional category. So what I mean by that is saying, like, I come up to you and I say, hey, I really want to play this. I feel like we do. I want to go build something with those rocks over there. It's going to be so cool. He's got a whole vision for it. The child's like, I'd rather swim. And he's confusing a bit different preferences at different times with you're not my friend or you don't care. And then there's a layer on that, which is like, you don't care about me because you're not willing to change what you're doing to do what I want to do. So part of his maturity as he's growing is decoupling those two things. Yeah, and I've heard you do this in the past. We talked about this.
Yeah, I mean, we do it at home where he all set a boundary, like, can't put your feet on the coffee table, and it's like, you jerk. And I, for months, was like, I'm setting a boundary, I'm not being a jerk.
Yes.
And you're equating me setting a boundary with me being mean or not liking you. Yeah, so we've done quite a bit of that.
Yes.
I think we've made progress. But it's like he needs how to do that for him and his friends.
Yeah. So first, Sarah just did a really smart thing, by the way. She says, what are we doing at home that might reinforce what you go well at school? And that is like, this is what you have the most control over, is what goes on between the two of you. This is where you have opportunity to model what it could look like to graciously accept somebody's no. It's hard, but you can. Yeah. So what I would point out the most, though, is I think that there's something about acknowledging the invitation and making it clear that it's a yes, but not right now, or it's a yes with these conditions. And you do this already. So it's like, I like to put my feet on the coffee table, and you say, oh, well, we say that for special occasions, we have fun parties. So it's not like I know your idea sucks, because that's what he's hearing.
Right.
And the other way you can go with it is, oh, I wish we could put all the feet on the coffee. I wish we could just put all our shoes anywhere we wanted, put our feet anywhere we wanted. Fortunately, buddy, it's just not how dreams work. And so we can, because I think that sometimes when they hear no, it's like a criticism of their idea. And if they identify strongly, which he does, with his own ideas, he's constantly coming up with them, he feels like you're criticizing him. And so what I've seen you do already on this trip, was what an idea. You said these things to him. I heard you in the car.
I don't remember.
Oh, good idea. Yeah. This is just like you. I can't help it. So what can happen in a peer-to-peer setting is that sometimes we have to help the kids remember and see it, this moment, in the context of the friendship, in the context of the connection. And we can ask the adults in the environment, give me full permission, having been an educator, to say, hey, I think that there might be some ways here to strengthen with a few friends. As he's coming home feeling like this, and that kind of way about people wanting to do things differently from him. So could you please, point out to him when they are getting along, so that he can start to build also evidence in the other direction. 4 to 1. Talked about. Right. Yeah. 4 to 1, by the way, is something we talk a lot about. Like 4 positives to every negative. Right. And to maintain a positive relationship. Right. Yeah. So helping him perceive that 4 to 1 ratio. Yeah. Okay. And do you know why I pointed out kindness in the line?
Because you were modeling it or just showing it. Yeah.
There's that, but also this is something that you all can do, is if there's something that your child is looping on, like all people are mean, right? What you can do is you can counter it with examples without being like on the nose. You're like, see, not everybody's mean, which feels a little, I don't know, combative. If someone came up to me like, see, told you so. Right. And I'm just like, oh, what a nice person. Just that. Yeah. What a kind thing to do. Did you hear him say on the way to the car? He goes, it would be gracious if we were to, like blah blah blah, right? Because
just a word you could just.
I talked about being a gracious host, what that can look like. Painting pictures for him. Get that. So what I gleaned just from that time with him this morning, that if you were to paint a picture of the times that he has positive experiences with his friends, inside and outside of the moments he's saying they're mean, that can be the counter story to the story he's starting to build up about this. Yes. In addition to what you're already doing. Right. So it's one piece. Awesome. How's that landing with you, Sarah?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Okay.
I think, I still like the idea, but I feel like he is smart enough and at an age enough where I can be like, hey, look, you're equating the boundary.
Oh yeah.
With meanness.
This is just an add-on.
And then this adding on to it. Yeah. I think that's helpful. And he comes home, he'll have one negative experience at school, and he'll come home and say, I had the worst day ever. School sucks. And his teachers will be like, played the whole day. He was having a blast. Even after they had that conflict, they were like tearing it up together afterwards. Yeah. And he did not. And we've been talking about like, I don't know, yet that's another question of like, how in the world to like help him see the positive, because he wants to always like latch on to the negative instead of the positive.
So one thing I caution all y'all, all the adults, all the caregivers, the teachers, the parents, everybody, is that oftentimes when we see a child expressing some kind of pain, we want it to go away as quickly as possible, and without even realizing it, trying to
gaslight them and tell them their experience is different.
Well said. So we have another expert here. The coaches many people have similar things in different contexts. Yeah. What I've seen work really well is even just a moment of that empathy-based emotion coaching. Oh, that sounds tough. Is there anything else you want me to know about that? I'd like to share about that.
That part a lot.
It's easy to, and it's literally because I have a salvo. It becomes an automatic, just like, oh, baby cry, bounce, right? Baby cry, bottle, right? So there's we've been trained, right, to want it to go right into fix or in heal, right? Yeah. So one thing we have to acknowledge is sometimes the reason why it comes home and they bring it to you is because
they're not feeling hurt.
You are the one who potentially will actually give me the full audience I need. I trust you the most. You've helped me in the past. So I actually find it overall as a sign of confidence in the relationship. That there's a secure bond.
Right.
Because if you were living in the land of, if your relationship was the land of like shame or fear, where he felt like he had to put up a good front to win your approval or have a sense of love and belonging.
Right. Right.
So one thing we can say when you become, I'm so glad you shared this with me. You know, you can always bring hard things to me. Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah. I mean, sometimes when I say this to parents, like, that feels really good. Hear that. Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We don't have very many contexts in our lives where someone says that to us. So
yeah,
to be that for someone is easy.
Yeah. And also a little optimism. We're gonna get through this. We don't have to be specific yet. I think that's the trick. So you and I both solution-oriented people would love to just fix it. Right. It's taken a lot of practice to be with it. And if you want it, if you need it to be a smart reason and not like a touchy-feely reason of like trust, building relationships and things, which Sarah doesn't need. But if you're out there listening going, oh yeah, you know, like if I had time, I would. Here's why it's actually a smart reason. It's a smart strategy. When you open up the floor, you'll gather so much more information so that when you do give advice, or if you do make a suggestion of a solution, it's well informed. Right? Because I can't tell you the number of times I've heard, oh, that kid's mean, he means you, just don't play with them. Avoid them. Which is different from saying, sounds like your relationship might need a break. Talk about that.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And the reason they go there is because they don't have enough context and information to come up with a little more detailed plan. Right. Like, well, it sounds like the two, you know, you get more information. It sounds like the two of you do fine as long as there's structured activity. But as soon as it's open play, you tend to want to do different things, and that can hurt your heart. So what do you think we could do next time there's open play? Do you think we might, you know, try and see, and if it doesn't go well, kind of go okay and move on, or do you want to maybe just look at that situation for now and ask someone else to play who's usually your yes guy, you know? Yeah. And then you can get into the advice, right? And I framed it as questions. What would you like? Because you're a autonomy guy. Choice is.
Yes. Oh my God, my life is figuring out how to frame things and choices.
I didn't know this, but as we were at the grocery store, I think I was kind of roughly counting. I think we offered him choices 20 times.
Really? No.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Like it's so deep in your practice now and in your report. Like I don't offer enough choice. Really?
I feel like I'm always like, just do this.
Well, maybe you were turning it up around your coach.
I don't know. I just wasn't conscious.
Subconscious. Yeah. So I mean, what you have to have, I can see it's palpable, the connection between the two of you and how much he trusts and loves you. Yeah. Congratulations for the progress.
Yeah. Thank goodness. Thank God we found you in that moment.
And that you had the heart and the courage to say, yes, I need help. And it wasn't an easy investment to make, I know. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm hearing time and time again, even my own experience of investing in machines. If I could spend $10 now and save $100 later, or just if I could spend $10 now and not have this experience, this pattern become ingrained where it gets even harder to change it. Like I literally have said, if you could wave a magic wand and make all the behavior better, like how much would you pay for that? People are like, I'll trade my car. You know? It's like, okay, now what if there's work involved? And that's why I'm so impressed with parents who step into this work, because it's not necessarily the norm out there. To hire a parenting coach.
No, it's not.
And you have to be willing to step into some challenging spaces and grow. So we are in amazing company here. So Sarah, one last thing. If you were to go back to yourself in that moment where you're behind the bathroom door, waiting for not knowing what to do with all the furniture out there, trying something new, you know, like just like just try. What would you whisper in your ear? What would your message be to yourself?
I think this too shall pass, are all just phases. And that you need a team. Like it's okay to need support and not know how to do it. 'Cause I felt like I had read all the books, knew what I was doing, and had my strategies, but they were clearly not working. But I think also just trust that it will get better. Because I think when you're in it, it can feel like you're doomed for the rest of your life. And so, yeah, but it's okay to like, another client of yours often says to me, like, you just need your team. Once you get your team, and I feel like I have my team now, so that's good. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being generous and just graciously hosting as we were talking about with her son. And what a valuable session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So happy we were
thank
able
you.
to.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And for those of you who are listening live, let us know that you're here. Just put it in the chat. Leave a comment if you're listening on YouTube. I always love comments. I'll see them. I'll share anything with Sarah as well if you'd like to uplift this amazing parent here, like parent leader. Yeah, let us know if you have any questions or things takeaways, things that stood out to you about our interview in this session. We always love to hear that. And yeah, everybody be well, and we'll be back next Monday for another Monday Mindset. This time back from California from the home studio.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a treat to be here.
Thank you so much, Vanessa.
Absolutely. All right. Much love to all of you. Till next time.
Bye.